Riddle's introduction to Ace is during the opening ceremonies. Before Ace is even assigned his dorm, Riddle observes, "I pity his future housewarden, and, later, I'll have to drill basic manners into him before I even get started on the Queen's laws." Their first interaction is Riddle sending Ace back to his seat, where he immediately becomes bored and forces Epel out of the ceremony with him to explore the campus. Riddle follows after them to hunt him down, but they successfully evade him. The events of Book 1 begin with Ace stealing a tart and being caught, red-handed, by Riddle, possibly a reference to the Mother Goose rhyme, the Queen of Hearts. Riddle overhears Ace saying his rule obsession is out of control, and saying he is just a petty tyrant who leans into the whole rules shtick as a pretext to keep everyone under his puny thumb. But being caught out for disparaging Riddle behind his back does not stop him from asking for the removal of the collar that Riddle is using as punishment. Riddle says that he had intended to remove it, but will no longer be doing so due to Ace's lack of remorse. Ace presents Riddle with a chestnut tart to replace what he stole during an unbirthday party, breaking a rule that he did not know existed. Ace calls out the other students of Heart's Lobule for knowing that Riddle's overreaction is insane, but when Riddle insists that they speak out, they claim that they trust in his judgment.
全ては寮長のご決断次第です。そんな。日和やがって。だっせ。
Riddle insists on obedience and Ace responds, "I don't bow to self-important tyrants," leading Riddle to order Trey and Cater to eject Ace and the others from the dorm. Trey assures them that they will try to calm Riddle down, but Ace insists he will not ever be apologizing to Riddle. Crowley offers Ace the option of transferring dorms or challenging Riddle to a duel for leadership of the dorm, and Ace chooses the latter, as transferring out would make me feel like I was running away with my tail between my legs. Ace declares that when he becomes housewarden, he will make Riddle admit to his mistakes and apologize for his actions. And no one in the dorm is gonna have to live by any crazy rules ever again. At the very start of the duel, Riddle collars both Ace and Deuce before they have a chance to attempt a spell, and Ace punches Riddle in the face for insulting his parents. Ace lectures a baffled Riddle on children not being trophies for their parents and blaming him for his own shortcomings, as he has failed to make even one friend who is willing to call him out on his behavior. The other Heart's Lobule students finally ally with Ace, with an unspecified character hitting Riddle in the head with an egg. Riddle collars everyone in the surrounding area as a result, and Ace doubles down, shaming him for his temper tantrum and refusing to apologize even as Riddle threatens to skewer him.
そうやってすぐ癇癪を起こすとこが赤ん坊だっつってんの。今すぐ撤回しろ！串刺しにされたいのか！やだね。絶対にしねえ。
Riddle follows through with his threat, animating the garden's rose trees and ordering them to tear Ace to pieces. Ace is saved by Trey, and Riddle's sincere efforts to murder a first-year student frighten the rest of the Heart's Lobule students. Ace begins attacking Riddle with magic and is joined by Deuce, Grim, Trey and Cater. When Riddle regains consciousness, Trey's first response is to encourage him to rest, while Ace's first response is to call Trey out for continuing to coddle him. Ace refuses to accept Riddle's apology for his actions, insisting that they host a do-over unbirthday party and that Riddle prepares a tart on his own without any help from Trey. Ace says, "Do that, and then things are square between us." Ace and the others are still roped into cleaning and prepping the garden, and when Trey compliments the overall appearance of Riddle's tart, Ace insists that they actually try it, before you start fawning all over him. Ace scolds Riddle to his face during Phantom Bride, calling him the lousiest suitor of them all, but he is more often complaining about Riddle behind his back. In various vignettes, Ace says, "Riddle will have my head, why's housewarden Riddle gotta be so impatient," and refers to Riddle as a teapot tyrant multiple times. When Riddle insists upon saving Cater from Eliza during Phantom Bride in order to be in compliance with an unrelated Queen of Hearts rule, Ace says that while he is always the stickler, the current Riddle beats the way he was before. Ace tells Jack in Book 2, "Mistake Riddle for a friendly hedgehog and you'll quickly learn he's actually a furious porcupine," but he seems fond of Riddle all the same. While dealing with Floyd and Leona during Spectral Soiree he says, "These guys are like oil and water. I'd take the teapot tyrant any day. Oh, Housewarden Riddle, if only you could get me out of this mess." When Ace sees Riddle offering to tutor Deuce rather than punish him for his poor math skills, Ace observes that Riddle would be perfect if not for the whole flying off the handle thing. Cater tells him he's got to learn how to read a room. When Ace finds out that Riddle is kind to the dorm's hedgehogs he says, "Wish he'd show a little bit of that kindness to us students." While often complaining about Riddle's temper, we also see Ace protect him from a rogue spelldrive disc. When Leona is unimpressed, Ace insists that if he hadn't been with Riddle, he would have been seriously injured. Leona responds, Riddle would have batted that little disc away with his magic, no problem, to explain his nonchalance, and Riddle agrees. Ace says, "I just did all that for nothing," but Riddle says that he proved his physical capabilities and he could see Ace representing Hartslobule in croquet tournaments or interdorm sports competitions one day. Despite their rocky past, Ace seems proud of being able to impress his housewarden. Ace says it felt pretty great when he was able to impress Riddle with a card trick, and he goes out of his way to tell Riddle when he helps Cater in a vignette, as though hoping for a compliment. Ace seems fond of receiving compliments in general and from Riddle in particular. When Riddle compliments Jack during Fairy Gala Remix, Ace interrupts their conversation with, "I'm the guy who got this whole crew together, just saying." Riddle insists upon Ace participating in Fairy Gala Remix, with Ace explaining, "I tried to say no, and he got so mad he nearly had my head. Since I'd suffer either way, might as well make sure the housewarden owes me." Riddle nominates Ace after being impressed by his sleight of hand trick, and Ace says that he may have gotten carried away because it was one of the few times that Riddle openly complimented him. Riddle says that he is counting on Ace, and Ace responds, "I hope you show some proper appreciation when I get back." Ace also brags about his basketball abilities to Riddle during a PE class, but when Riddle compliments him he reacts with surprise. Riddle explains, "I know how to recognize exceptional talent when I see it. If you make a name for yourself in your club, that also contributes toward Hartslobule's reputation." According to a voice line, Ace invites Riddle to watch his basketball games. When Riddle thanks him for finding Hartslobule's lost hedgehogs, Ace responds with, "Wish you'd flash me that nice little smile more often instead of nagging me non-stop." When Riddle asks him to repeat himself, Ace reacts with, "I said that for our esteemed housewarden, I would gladly do this and more." Riddle compliments Ace again during Phantom Bride on his intended proposal for Eliza. When Ace insists that he was faking it, Riddle claims otherwise, and says, "I thought it was very you, in a good way." Riddle follows this up with, "Too bad when all is said and done, the princess will be picking me." Ace confesses to finding Riddle cool at the end of the Phantom Bride event, saying, "When I saw our housewarden taking down all those ghosts single-handed, I thought to myself, what a cool guy. It makes me want to get better at using magic. Maybe right now I can't hold a candle to our housewarden or the older students, but one of these days, I'm gonna show them something spectacular. Gives me a rush just thinking about how they'll look when they see my sick spellcasting." Riddle does not seem to trust Ace any more now than he did before, calling him calculating when Ace tries to flatter him during Fairy Gala Remix, and according to Jamil, Riddle may be the only one of the upperclassmen whom Ace is fearful of. Riddle seems to have a problem with Ace's general appearance, saying that Ace looks quite the gentleman when he dresses properly. If only he'd do it more often. Riddle reprimands Ace both in a vignette and during Phantom Bride for his uncouth language. When Ace goes missing during Vargas camp, Riddle exclaims, "I'll need to instill a sense of Hartslobule propriety into him, again." In a vignette we see Ace perform sleight of hand tricks for Riddle in an attempt to distract him from the fact he is not studying, but the plan fails. We see Ace try to trick Riddle in a different vignette as well, painting only the fronts of rose trees red at Hartslobule on the assumption that Riddle won't notice the backs. Riddle seems to be fairly used to Ace's attempts at trickery, calling him out during Phantom Bride for trying to steal Rook's idea for impressing Eliza. Riddle volunteers Ace as a suitor and he refuses, so Riddle dismisses him back to Hartslobule and tells him to tend to the hedgehogs or something. "I'll be fine with Epel here." Because unlike Ace, you possess actual bravery. Riddle continues with, pity my dorm's freshmen are such cowards. You have more courage in the tip of your pinky than they have in their entire bodies. I suppose it's for the best if we don't have any of those spineless worms tagging along. They just slow the rest of our team down. This successfully tricks Ace into volunteering to join the team.